Hey, Bills Mafia. We know there's only one topic every day. All Bills, all the time. And now Matt Bovee and Sal Capaccio are going really deep, talking Bills all year long, because it's always game day in Buffalo.
Well, we hope everybody had a great, safe, happy, healthy holiday, Christmas, whatever it is you celebrate out there. We hope it was great for you back here at One Bills Drive. I hope you had a good one too, buddy.
Thank you, buddy. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. We had some nice family time and built a kitchen for Ellie that took about 3 hours, but it was okay. I did it on Monday night. I did not procrastinate. I did it before Christmas Eve. I watched the Sabres game. I watched the Sabres end their losing streak while assembling this kitchen. This kitchen is legit. It's got an ice maker that actually puts out like fake ice. When you put stuff on the stove, it sizzles, it lights up. It's pretty legit.
Why are we spending all this money on our own kitchens at home when we could just do something like this
there were people,
for adults?
There were people who responded. I posted a picture, and they're like, this is nicer than the kitchen I've got at my house. And I was like, well, I'll get her on the stove, and I'll make some meals, and I'll send them your way.
All right. Yeah, for sure. We had a great one at the house, too. Anything you got? Anything nice for you from Santa or your family or anything?
Not anything that I would say like immediately jumps out. I got clothes. I got some stuff that I needed, but not like, there was one crazy thing or anything.
Okay, me too, except I did get from my mom one of those. Now, I don't think it's the same product that Reed endorses, but those for the bald guys. Oh, it's amazing. I did it today. Look at I got that little shine on my head. I actually use this electric razor that fits in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
And it's incredible, actually.
Everyone, we have our thumbnail for this episode. It's Sal rubbing his head right in front of the camera.
Oh, my God. It's really cool. Now, you don't have to worry about that. But you know what? No, I hope you don't have to. But I do. So it's really cool. I actually really used it. I tried on my face. It even worked a little bit. So, hey, I mean, the technology is amazing. Glad we can do these things these days. But hope everybody had a great holiday. We're back here down at One Bills Drive. The Bills are going to practice today. We are on Thursday today. Christmas on a Wednesday is kind of weird, right? You come back to work on a Thursday, you got 2 days. All right, so the Bills, let's just set everything up for you. Mm-hmm. They had a injury report released on Wednesday, but they didn't practice. It's an estimation of if they would have actually practiced. All right, you got it there. Today, Thursday, they will have an actual practice. We're going to head out to the practice fields in a little while, and we're going to watch them practice, and then they're going to give us an actual injury report based on the actual practice today as they lead into a game against the New York Jets. So we'll have all that for you and talk about it. And, of course, we are here on the podcast on the audio side, wherever you pod, on It's Always Game Day in Buffalo. And on the video side, you can see my bald head at Sal Sports. What do we know about the injury report as it stands right now and anticipating this week?
All right, so the big one, of course, is Josh Allen. Josh Allen was tentatively listed as a full participant. Those boxes just came up. I don't know why. Mike, can we go back to the regular thing? So Josh Allen was listed as a full participant on the injury report. The injury is listed as a right elbow / right shoulder injury, but still good news that even though
the shoulder was from the Lions.
The shoulder was from the Lions.
And the elbow was from New England.
New England when he fell. Right elbow contusion, but listed as a full participant. That's a good sign. Spencer Brown and Dwayne Carter also listed as full. The only other one that was, I think, a notable update was Russell Douglas, the Bills cornerback. He missed the last game. He went from a limited participant all of last week to a full participant. That, to me, tells me he's trending in the direction of playing. It even sounded like he was close to playing last week. I talked to him after practice on Thursday or Friday last week, and he said he was good to go. I think this was more of the team kind of holding him out a little bit than it was him not being ready, and I feel like we're going to see a lot of that these next couple weeks, which will ultimately get us to where we're trying to go with this conversation. But I think if guys are close, they're not going to play. They're going to continue to be overcautious, at least for these next 2 weeks, and then start to really ramp things up, obviously, when the games really, really start to matter.
All right, so it is a bit of a needle to thread here for Sean McDermott and his staff, right? Because they have not yet completely secured the 2 seed. Mm-hmm. They need one win, either this week or next week, to do that. Preferably, you get it this week. You can rest your starters in week 18. However, you also, if you want to, can start doing that now to give an extra week even, because you're not going to get the 1 seed. So, you're playing that wild card weekend. So they have to kind of figure this out and balance the best way possible. How do we think Sean McDermott is going to play this? How would you play it? Because it also matters what they think about the 2 versus the 3 if they were to fall in a situation where, oh my God, we rested these guys and now suddenly we lost games.
Yeah, I think that you treat this game against the Jets like a must-win, need-to-win game. And then if you handle your business, then you go into week 18 probably treating it almost like a preseason game where maybe the starters play a series or two, and then after that you have your backups in and you are getting everybody healthy. Everybody who's on the injury report gets the week off. That's how I would be approaching this, because I do think there is a difference between the 2 seed and the 3 seed. It feels like right now I am not counting the chickens before they hatch. But if the Bills go into the playoffs and they're able to win their wild card matchup, and the Ravens go into the playoffs and they're able to win their wild card matchup, it feels like they are on a crash course to play against each other in the second round. Now, the difference would be, is the game in Baltimore or is the game in Buffalo? I think that matters. I don't think that it's a deal breaker, but I think that it really matters. And for the Bills, they would want to host that game here, assuming they beat whoever they play in the wild card round. So I think you treat this game like a regular season game. You let all of your guys play, and then you give yourself, if you win, that extra time to rest.
I agree with everything you said. And I think that maybe even if you can get out to an early lead in this game and then have things in hand, maybe you can start to do that in the second half at some point. It doesn't have to be right away, but maybe that's how you approach it. The other thing is the messaging to the players. Hey, go out there and do your business, and then you guys get that week 18 to kind of dial back, and we can all get healthy. Christmas Day didn't go so well for the Bills from a perspective of who you might want to play, because I do think that it's clear now, Matt, not that it ever wasn't, but there is a separation between the Chiefs, the Bills, the Ravens, and then everybody else. And look, I'm whatever team you want to put 1, 2, and 3. The Bills beat the Chiefs beat the Ravens beat the Bills. Doesn't really matter. On any given day, one of those 3 teams can beat each other, but clearly there's a separation to the next group. And honestly, by Pittsburgh losing might have benefited them in the playoffs. They're going to probably play the Houston Texans in round 1.
Yeah, it's funny. And the other interesting layer here, too, is that the Chiefs beating the Steelers hurt the Bengals, hurt the Dolphins, hurt all those teams, because I would imagine, especially a banged up Patrick Mahomes, probably is not going to play, or at least play the full game next week in the final week of the season against the Broncos. The Broncos have to win one of their last 2 games to get in, and this weekend they play against the Bengals. The Bengals would be the team that I would not want to see at all in the playoffs. The Broncos, I still think a talented team, a really stingy defense, but as far as like the potential matchups are concerned, the Broncos and the Colts are the ones that I feel like the Bills would feel the most confident and comfortable in. But yeah, yesterday's results, we're recording this on Thursday. The Christmas Day results for the Bills were the absolute worst thing that could have happened. The best case scenario would have been the Steelers beat the Chiefs and the 1 seed was still in play, and the Ravens lose, and then they are more likely to finish as the wild card team. The thing there, though, is they were never going to fall to the 6 or the 7 seed. They were going to be the 5 or the 6 seed, and the Bills probably wouldn't have had to play them, and then they might have had to play the Chiefs in the second round. So it doesn't feel like it's going to happen that way now, but at the same time, we can have all of these conversations and something weird will happen, because it always does in the NFL.
Yeah, I agree with you that it looks like it's going to be most likely the Broncos. There is a chance still of the Chargers, obviously, because if the Bengals do beat the Broncos and the Chargers win suddenly, or in the Chargers, if they fall one of their last 2 games, I guess how would I look at it? Let's play it this way. Okay, yeah, I reversed it. If because the Chiefs are going to rest their guys, it is possible the Broncos win their last 2 games. If that is the case and the Chargers lose one, the Chargers suddenly become the 7 seed.
Yeah, which is whatever. I kind of put them in the same group as you don't like want to play them. I don't think you want to play, these are good teams, right? Yeah. You would feel confident with a West Coast team coming to the East Coast in the conditions against that team. But I think that of the like potential matchups, to me, the Bengals is the worst. And then you know how I feel about the Dolphins. I would go Bengals, Dolphins, Chargers, Broncos, Colts being the most favorable.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. And again, it goes back to what I said about the Steelers real quick on them, which is they suddenly, hey, they're going to play at the Texans, right? I mean, like these are probably the 2 teams that kind of, okay, we can both match up. If I'm the Steelers fan, I'd rather play at Houston than maybe even at home against one of those teams you just mentioned.
And that's from the outside looking in, I think the thing that's probably so frustrating for people is that now the Steelers are going, if everything goes chalk, right? The only game that might, we'll see what happens. If the Steelers play the Texans, they're going to beat the Texans. Now, the Chiefs in the second round get the Steelers. Yeah. They are going to destroy them. Yeah. And then just like that, they're going to be hosting the AFC Championship without even basically breaking a sweat. Their one game to get to the AFC Championship might be a win against the Steelers.
All right, so let me just ask you this. Have you thought about this? Any chance you would give the Broncos or Chargers to go to Baltimore and win in round 1?
No. No, I think the Ravens are really good. I think the Ravens are the most dangerous team in the AFC. I think that the way they match up with the Bills and with the Chiefs gives them a really good chance of winning that game. I'm not saying that either of those teams can't, for sure, but the way they can run the ball, the weapons that they have, even though the defense isn't great, the defense is starting to play a little bit better. That's not a team that I think anybody wants to play. I would imagine right now, if the Bills and Ravens were to meet up in the playoffs, if the game was in Buffalo, I think the Bills would be like a field goal favorite.
Maybe. Yeah.
But, it's going to be close.
We all know that. All right. The other thing that's happened, obviously, they're having with this whole MVP conversation that, just seems to be so divisive on a week-to-week, game-to-game basis. And I hate that. I hate it. I've been talking about it on the radio this week. I'm going to say it right here in the podcast. Here's why I hate it, Matt. Like a lot of things that happen in society today, it just seems like everything has to be such a division that if it's not my way, I'm going to trash your way and your guy as much as possible to prop up mine. I think Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen are both unbelievable, and they're both having incredible years, and I think both have a very, very good case for the MVP. Now, I'm closer to the situation here, and I think Josh kind of got robbed of it last year, so I'd love to see Josh Allen win it, and I think he absolutely has a case. But what I think has happened because of it is because people are so entrenched in their guy winning it, they're losing the appreciation for how great the other guy has been. And I think that sucks for football to have this discourse.
Absolutely. Because if you're making the case for Lamar Jackson as the MVP, then you're arguing that Josh Allen isn't just not the MVP, but that he's not very good. And then the same thing is happening with Lamar Jackson. It's like, well, he's got Derrick Henry. He's not very good because he has Derrick Henry.
Everybody's finding ways to trash the other to put him down.
Yeah. Let me say this. I think there are two very worthy candidates for MVP. I, like Sal, am obviously very close to the situation. If I had a vote, which I do not, I would vote for Josh Allen. My explanation for Josh Allen, and you can totally disagree with this, is that going into the season, the expectations for the Ravens were to be a Super Bowl contender. The expectations for the Bills were to be the second or third best team in the AFC East. And they clinched the division 3 weeks ago with a supporting cast that I do not believe is nearly as strong as what Lamar Jackson has in Baltimore. That does not mean he is not a great, worthy candidate. I just think Josh Allen has done almost as much with a lot less on a team that did not have the same expectations. I also, to Sal's point, don't think Lamar Jackson should have been nearly a unanimous MVP last year, and this very much is a perception award, and voter fatigue is a real thing. As the time we're recording this right now, Josh Allen is still the favorite to win the award, but is certainly not as big of a favorite as he was even a couple weeks ago. But just because you think Josh Allen should win the MVP does not mean you should think that Lamar Jackson isn't a worthy candidate, and certainly vice versa. That's just my opinion on all of that.
No, I agree with all of that. And look, obviously what helped is Christmas Day, national television audience. Lamar has this unbelievable day, and people start talking about it. Just like when Josh was on Sunday Night Football against the San Francisco 49ers, and that happened, right? Look, if Josh played on Christmas Day and had a great day, it would be, oh my God, just give it to him, let him run away from it. What I also don't love, though, I hate really, is all of the people now, national or Ravens fans, whatever, oh my God, look what the Texans did to Josh Allen in week number 5. That was 2.5 months ago, and the Texans are a clearly different team now. It has nothing to do with it. And no one said an MVP, even the winner, has to be the best player in the league every week. Josh was not good that game. There's no doubt about it. Lamar Jackson hasn't played his best every single game. There were a couple games where he threw for a lot of yards, but that was because they were, late in the game. I think they were playing a little bit of catch up. I think Cleveland and the Raiders, they lost to the Raiders. A couple games in there, he didn't have great stats. I just think the whole thing around it stinks for me because I'm a football fan, Matt. I love football. I love watching great football players. And I think this trashing of the other great football players sucks.
I agree. I think that when I watch Lamar Jackson play football, when I watch Josh Allen play football, when I watch Patrick Mahomes play football, and I'll throw one other name in there, when I watch Joe Burrow play football, they to me are clearly just a cut above the rest. And you can piece those guys in whatever order that you want to piece them in. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is the gold standard because of the championships, because of the past success, and all of that stuff. I absolutely understand that. To me, after that, you can flip Josh and Lamar in any way that you like. But to the voter fatigue point, I think that because Lamar has a couple, there will be people who think that, the tiebreaker or it's close should go to Josh Allen. Joe Burrow's interesting because he is playing at such an elite level right now, also has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and the team hasn't had a ton of success, but I don't think a lot of that is on him. So for me, those guys are in kind of a class of their own. There's a couple people that are really good, but I don't think they're in that class. I think Lamar is worthy. I think Josh is worthy. If I was voting, I would go Josh.
All right. We should touch on the opponent this week, the New York Jets, because they had their injury report yesterday, same as the Bills. They didn't practice. Devontae Adams shows up with a hip injury. He does not practice. Sauce Gardner might not play in this game. He's got a hamstring injury. He did not practice. We do anticipate Aaron Rodgers practicing, even though he said he has an MCL, but he's going to play. So Aaron Rodgers is going to play, but this looks like a team and the Jets that could be a little bit banged up. And of course, they're trying to more figure out their future maybe than the present.
Yeah, for sure. Feels a little bit like the Patriots game last week, where the topic of the week is not so much about the opponent, but I also think a layer of that is because we already know the Bills are going to the playoffs. I won't sleep on the Jets, though. Like, after watching the Bills and what they did against the Patriots last week, I think Aaron Rodgers still at least has some decent football left in him, not great football. I know that they have completely failed to meet expectations this year, but that's a team that has kind of given Josh some headaches in the past. You know what the similarity here is? Just talking about the Lamar stuff, the Jets have been a little bit of a thorn in the side to the Bills, kind of like the Steelers have been to the Ravens, where for the last several years, the Ravens have been the better team. But for some reason against that team, they haven't always performed. And I feel a little bit that way against the Jets. Obviously, the Bills beat them earlier in the year on the road in New York. I still think the Bills are going to win this game, but I don't anticipate like a get up a ton early in the game and rest your guys. Like, I just don't see that happening.
On top of the fact that it's going to probably be over 50 degrees, but raining. Like, you never know when that comes into play, what could wind up happening. Do you remember those? We finish up this episode. Think back to week number 5 when it was, or week number 6, did they play? And it was for the AFC East lead. The Bills were 3-2. The Jets were 2-3.
Yeah.
And if the Jets had won, they would literally take over first place. They didn't. They fired Robert Saleh before the game, before they played, and the Bills wound up winning on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and then on the drive back from New York, I mean, you flew back, but I drove back, and on the drive back, about an hour or two into the drive, the Jets traded for Devontae Adams.
That's right.
And then like 2 hours after that, the Bills traded for Amari Cooper. Yeah. And it's really interesting to see how it all shaped out since that moment happened. But, I mean, yeah, the division, the Jets are, I'll say this too, going back to watching the Patriots play last week, if I'm not the Bills, I would want to be the Patriots because of Drake May. Yeah. What are the Jets? He looks really good. What are the Jets going to do at quarterback? Go sign like Kirk Cousins? Go draft somebody and hope that they turn out? Like they're kind of in limbo. They're in quarterback purgatory, like Doug Whaley said all of those years ago. Everybody on this podcast knows how I feel about the Dolphins. I think Tua is a really good player, but they haven't proven that they can get over the hump. So to me, I would want the unknown and potential of Drake May more than I would want whatever's going on in New York and whatever's happening in Miami.
And on top of that, the Patriots have more cap space than any team, I think, going into this offseason, so they can surround him. But they have a coaching question they have to figure out as well. All that stuff's going to be sorted out over the next week and a half. Matt and I will be back at some point this week after the game, and then we'll talk about next week's game, how everything shakes out. And by the way, once we get to Sunday night, we'll then know when the New England Patriots game is. All the Week 18 games will be announced. That will not happen until after Sunday's games are complete.
Yeah, so, I mean, for the Bills, if the game doesn't matter for seeding, I would imagine it probably stays a Sunday 1 o'clock game. Yep. If there is potential that they need to win to get the 2 seed, then maybe they put the game on Saturday or something. But I'm kind of getting the sense that it'll be Sunday 1 o'clock against the Jets, and then probably another Sunday afternoon game against the Patriots to close out the season.
Yeah, I agree with you. All right. Thanks a lot to Mike Robier, our producer. Once again, we hope everybody had a great holiday. We have another holiday coming next week. This will probably be the same kind of thing. I'm guessing the schedule will be the same. New Year's will probably be off from here, and then we'll come back on Thursday and do this.
It's New Year's Day, a Wednesday?
Yes, it's always exactly 1 week after Christmas.
All right, so then I would imagine that it's the same exact thing.
All right, no doubt about it. We got other media coming in because we got to head out to practice here in just a little while. Thanks for watching at the South Sports YouTube channel. And, of course, thanks for downloading, subscribing, and listening on Odyssey, WGR, Spotify, iTunes, or wherever else you pod. Also, so many people telling us that we're on their playlist, like their top iTunes, right? How cool is that?
So cool. Every time somebody sends us like a Spotify Wrapped or an Apple Music thing, and we're like, hey, we love listening to the podcast, we certainly appreciate it. It's very cool to continue to see the numbers grow, the amount of people who are watching and listening grow. So that's really cool. So we appreciate it. And hopefully we've got several more months of games to talk about.